Hello. Ashley, you appear to be muted.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Hey, I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me okay?
Okay. Yes, I'm still trying to get this set up.
No,
Dr. Yoon is with a patient,
no
so
worries at
he'll be
all.
here shortly.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Pleasure to meet you properly. I've heard all
Nice to
about you.
meet you.
All positive stuff.
Yes, hopefully.
It is, I promise. Cool. So we'll just wait a minute or two.
Okay.
How long do you think till Dr. Yoon will be here? Do you
I
know?
would say about 10 minutes. He's
Okay.
finishing up with the patient right now, so it'll be about 10
Okay.
minutes.
Perfect. It was actually, I think, attendance wise today, it's pretty low. We had about 20 registrants. So we'll just wait 2 or 3 minutes, and otherwise we can get cracking.
Okay.
Benefit of this is if slow attendance, I'll have a run through your own website as well. We can kind of give that as an example if you'd like. Any questions, I'm someone you can just turn to about any of this stuff. There'll be a few points where I'll be asking your own opinion, and I want this to be as interactive as possible.
Okay. So this is basically just to help. Let me shut this door for 1 second.
Sure.
It's basically just a way to get the website looking better. Is that what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so ultimately, basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a bit of an overview on, number one, the purpose of the website. Suppose how to actually get it to convert better, because ultimately, and I'm going to dive into this in a minute.
Okay.
Do you know what I'll do is I'll actually get started, and I'll
Okay.
run through it in real time. But the short version is the purpose is how to optimize the website to get more conversions for the traffic that we're getting. So what I'm
Okay.
going to do is I'm going to be sending you over a few assets as we're doing this. For you to check out in your own time, if you haven't got the chance to already, I'm just going to have them ready to go. Give me just 2 seconds. I want to make sure that I've got the document for you, and then we'll be good, right? So I'm going to send you over a little PDF here that you can check this, that you can check it at the same time. And as I said, I'll get started right away then. So here we go. Feel free to check this out. This is so that you can kind of do a bit of a self audit. So this is okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to send over any assets that we're going through after. But that being said, I'm going to get cracking right
Okay.
now.
And Dr. You may jump in mid.
Yeah,
So
of course. So we've got a meeting penciled in for Monday anyways, so we can go through stuff in detail then as well. So just to confirm that you can see you can see the slide deck right now.
Yes.
Cool, perfect. Excuse the poor graphics.
That's okay.
Not a graphic designer.
It looks fine to me.
Okay. Okay, great. So the purpose today really is to go through how to actually optimize your website to increase conversions and lead flow as a whole, right? So this basically is part of what we call the accelerated growth model. Ultimately, there's a lot of moving parts. I actually literally did a podcast only 2 hours ago, and we were talking about this exact point. Ultimately in a business, and you obviously know this, but I want to make sure things are crystal clear. There's ultimately 4 levers we can use to grow any business, and that's traffic. I'll dive into how we actually address that. Conversion, right? Churn, / repeat visitors, and price, right? So my goal basically is to help you with the first 3. Pricing is something you're going to take care of yourself. On the traffic side of things, basically there's several strategies that work particularly well for med spas, medical clinics, which are SEO, PPC, which is in other words Google Ads, Meta Ads, social media ads, and you take that down and combining them together. So again, to reiterate, that's SEO, which is search engine optimization, organic results, Google Ads, and social media ads. I'll explain the benefits of each of those in a second, right? So search engine marketing, and we've obviously had a conversation with Dr. Yoon literally yesterday on the podcast. It's all about capturing people that are already looking for the services, okay? So there's a very important distinction here between that and social media ads. You know, Google ads gives you quick results, while SEO kind of builds your clinic's reputation over time so you can show up results organically. Now, it is search engine marketing, which is the reason I want to touch on this here, is it's the closest thing that we can get on the online landscape to real world reviews and referrals from friends. Okay, because at the end of the day, people trust search engines. So it's the least, I suppose, salesy way of driving new business without diminishing the brand value, right? Meta ads or social media ads, on the other hand, they're like digital billboards. And that's kind of what some people feel iffy depending on the positioning of the brand. But it allows us to reach people that may not be looking for the service right away. But when you combine them together, it can help the clinic attract more visitors and turn to booked appointments. So with that being said, I suppose the purpose today, though, is the second pillar, and that's conversion, right? So we can do all the marketing in the world. We can get all the visitors, but if they're not paying and turning into paid customers, you know, it's at the end of the day, the business needs to generate revenue. So the most cost-effective way generally of increasing return on investment for marketing, honestly, can be as simple as optimizing the website. You don't need to spend more money on ads. You don't need to spend more money on visitors. Simple tweaks, foundational tweaks. As I've said on podcasts, including the one with Dr. Yoon, you know, measure twice, cut once. That's a particularly appropriate thing in your industry. But get the foundations right. If we can triple the conversion rates, we triple the return. Simple as. So that's what we're going to go through today. Any questions, let me know. I'll go through an example. But that's ultimately what we're going through here, right? So as I mentioned, and you'll get the replay of this. If you go through 9 steps to triple the sales by getting your online marketing right, we can drive the leads, separate conversation, separate webinar, and I'll send you that replay. You can get access to it. We can discuss it on a one-on-one conversation. You know, drive leads for organic, paid, and reactivate the database. But as I said, cost effectiveness wise, getting that conversion right is, think of it as like a force multiplier for everything else. And we do that by taking care of the website, making sure the reputation is being managed effectively, and then automating a lot of steps when it comes to touching up with people. Because as you know, speed to lead is so important. So if people are shopping between your clinic and a competitor, vast majority of the time, it's the person that gets back the fastest that's going to get the business. Does that make sense to you? I suppose, do you have any questions on that?
No, that makes sense.
All right, perfect. So I said, this is what we're going through here today, but number one, obviously just keep off Facebook. But the next 60 minutes so are going to be important. Any questions, as I said, just let me know. So ultimately, marketing, big investment, right? Everyone knows that. But like I said, to avoid just throwing money at the wall and hoping something sticks, you need to make sure things actually convert. I can't put into words how many clinic owners I've talked to that they all say, I've done Google ads before, I've done SEO before, I haven't seen a return. We look at the website, it's impossible for people to actually book the appointment. And if we don't get that foundation in place, everything else is quite literally a complete waste of time. As you can drive all the traffic, but if there's not enough leads, you're not going to get return on investment, and we don't want that. So there's no appointments and so on. Is this something that's occurred to your clinic specifically before? Where you're getting visitors, but you don't know where they're coming from. You're not sure if the website's converting. Is that something that you've experienced yourself?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, sometimes the patients, they'll go to the website, but they say sometimes the website doesn't look, they have questions that aren't being answered before they book an appointment. And that's the hardest thing, is because they're not calling to make an appointment. They're going straight to the website to look at things. So that could be another issue that we need to work on. But yeah, I mean, we try to get to know the patients to find out how they heard about us. Did they search us up? Did they, hear from a friend? That type of thing. So
yeah. And is there tracking in place currently for where those leads are coming from? On the website?
Yeah, but it's not 100% though. Some of our staff is good at asking, but some don't.
Yeah, yeah. You know, at the end of the day, it's sort of what gets measured gets managed. So
Right.
basically what we're going to go through here is some best practices. What I want to do, like I said, I want this to be as interactive as possible. I'll go through your own website and we can kind of highlight maybe areas for improvements that you can take care of yourself, or if you want any help, just let me know. I'll also be going through an example of some assets that worked well for a previous client of mine. The website we
Okay.
built, they're actually based in Melbourne, Australia. I'm also going to go through an example of a page that's built to convert for a surgery clinic in New Jersey. You can take inspiration, and again, we can discuss it further over another call. So obviously this is what you get, you know, when everything works out well. But the main thing I want you to remember is the website is the hub. As you know yourself, I know Dr. Yoon's a massive advocate of educating the client, and I'm sure everyone on the team is. I know everyone's been trained more than well enough.
Right. Exactly.
I know he definitely doesn't cut corners there, but you know the website needs to reflect that. And I said, you know, with your specific website, I've had a look at it. There's some things that are being done really well, but there's definitely some areas for improvement. But like I said, just to give some you know, some numbers here. You know, for example, if you're getting 1,500 visitors a month, you know, you get a 5% conversion rate. It's all well and good, but that's the average sort of conversion rate that I tend to see. You know, 5%. You know, scenario two, as without tripping your ad budget, anything like that, some simple tweaks and making sure the tracking's in place and it's making sure it's a data-driven approach. Oh, Dr. Yoon, long time no see. Good to see you.
Hello, how are you?
How are things? I'm great. I'm great. Just going through some basics at the minute, and we're going to go through your website after and sort of give it as a specific example. So, like I said, basically, getting the conversion rate at the start is going to be the biggest needle mover to ensure every other element is done effectively. There's no point, you can get all the visitors in the world, but ultimately, if nobody's actually converting, it's basically wasted, right? So we want to make sure that all that's data driven. And just give you an example here, and we'll go through this your specific website. You know, here's, as I said, a medical spa that we worked on before that was based in Melbourne. They were getting no conversions. They were doing okay locally on Google Maps, but nobody was picking up the phone, especially on mobile, which is around where 70% of the visitors were coming from. You know, even on this website, everything's an iterative process. We made some major changes, and I'll go through that example specifically. But this is an example of what a good landing section looks like. And if you don't mind, we might just bounce between examples that are going well on your website, because I want this to be interactive, and some elements that you can maybe take inspiration from. So does that sound good? We kind of might work with that structure.
Little choppy connection.
Can you hear me okay?
Your screen froze. There we go.
There we go.
Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do, guys, do you mind if I go through your website as an example? And
please,
we can kind of go, okay, perfect. So I'm just going to compare with this example here, and you can take this on board yourself if you like, or we can go through it together. But the first thing that I'm seeing here,
we're still having a little connection problem, Thomas. It's unfortunate, but
okay,
you're freezing up on me. It's coming and going. I don't know why we have such a bad.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It said it was.
Are you on Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Looks like.
okay.
Okay.
If there's any more hassle, let me know. Just checking. Can you see me okay?
That's strange.
I'm gonna try and pull them up on
I don't have this, only mirrors that. I don't have a camera or microphone.
Gotcha.
Can you hear me okay right now?
It's coming and going still.
Keeps freezing. Right. The internet's okay on my end. Hello. Ashley, sorry, just confirming. Can you see me okay? Hear me okay?
Yes, Dr. Shane's
Okay.
gonna go pull this up in his office and maybe a better connection back there. So once he
Okay.
pulls it up, then I'll go back there with him. But
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, no, just double check my own internet speed should be perfectly fine. I'll just wait a minute if
Okay.
that's the case. Cool. In the meantime, are there any specific concerns that you want me to maybe have a look at while we're going through the example? Or is just sort of more informational?
This is more
You know,
informational for me. I mean, the only thing I hear about our website is that it's not as user friendly. A lot of people have a hard time navigating it. They click on one thing and it's not exactly what they're looking for.
yeah,
So I don't know if that's more on our end, making it more detailed where they, it's basic on what they ask for. So
yeah,
that's going to be the changes that.
yeah. I mean, an important, I suppose, motto to remember when it comes to optimizing websites is, there's a term, just don't make me think. When
Right.
just those don't make me think. Those 4 words can make the world of a difference. And we always need to assume the user just has no idea how to use the internet, because ultimately the most popular button on the internet is the back button. If they're confused, they're just going to bounce right away. Again, this is something I can have a look at for you. But if you're getting a little quick bit of advice, is Mark Yoon is enter the waiting room. I'll just wait for him.
I'm going to leave in just a second.
Cool.
Sorry.
All right. Yeah, anyways, I'll just wait. Mark has just joined on the other.
Okay. Once he gets it
Yeah.
up and running, I'm going to disconnect. All right. Perfect.
Cool. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Cool. I'll wait a second. All right. Hello, Mark again.
Hello, how are you?
Eric, I'm absolutely great. Long time no see. How's your day going?
Yeah, I know. It's getting a week full of Tomas.
I know. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So yeah, I'm just going to. I'll wait for Ashley to return, and I have a few little quick pointers again that you can kind of take on board yourself. But obviously, if you want any help, I'm always here. So we'll just wait for Ashley. To get you up to speed, Ashley was just saying a bit of feedback that's been received on the website so far by people. Oh, sorry, I'll bounce back to share my screen. Is that people can occasionally find it a bit confusing. Apparently, where it's not as intuitive as people would like. So I'm going to give you some quick advice on this, along with some best practices that I'd recommend, my initial thoughts. And like I said, I want this to be as interactive as possible. But I definitely think there's a lot of room for improvement so far. So I'll just wait for Ashley.
I'm
She's-
here.
There we go.
she's
All right,
sitting
perfect.
across from- Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. So one quick bit of advice, and again, I forgot there's the other monitor behind. Is a quick way of quantifying how people are actually behaving. You can use what's called heat map software. What that will basically do is it'll track user behavior as they go on the website. So it's incredibly powerful. I generally use it for website redesigns before and after, as well as for running ads. And what it basically allows us to do is find out what people are clicking on, what they're hovering on, what parts of the screen they're actually spending time on. And we can adjust the layout of the page accordingly. And again, I can send you the pointers on this after the sort of the quick notes. But a big thing that I see is very often, clinic owners tend to assume the website's intuitive, and they're thinking this section is obviously a drop down, or this section's obviously a video, and they'll find nobody's clicking on it. And again, every sort of wasted click is potential wasted appointment booked, because people do get frustrated. And as I was saying to Ashley, the most popular button on the internet is the back one, because they get frustrated, they'll dip. So to give some quick insights on this website specifically, what we're looking at here is what's called the hero section. It's basically the section above the fold before you scroll down. A really easy way of improving conversions here is adding a simple call to action right here. Okay. So while again, it looks very aesthetic and I'm a big fan of video backgrounds, I would recommend having some sort of clear call to action. We can talk about the SEO another time, the organic rankings on the maps, but making sure that this line here is actually descriptive of the service being offered, and having a simple call to action, right here would make the world of a difference. And again, the heat map data would verify this, but best practices basically is that we'd have a logo here at the top left corner, which is done. That's great. Clickable phone number, that's good. Navigation, which is good. And I'll give another bit of advice here. Actually, that is good. But having this call to action above the fold will make the world of a difference. And we're not coming across as salesy. It's best practice. We're not reinventing the wheel here, but yeah, as you know, simple works. I do love the social proof here. I think that's great. I think that's incredibly powerful, and I wouldn't change any of that. Having your face on it is another thing I would always recommend. So I love that. This section here specifically, now it's quite good. I would like to see the data as to whether people are clicking on this. And I would also like to make this call to action more prominent. I would suspect if we were to track the user behavior, we're not getting as many clicks in that call to action as we think. We do always want to remember, and for the record, this is definitely one of the better websites I've seen, that the goal is conversions, not just for it to look pretty. And it does look great. And there are certain things that are being done well, but we need to make it, as I was saying to Ashley, so that they don't need to think. That's just the universal words. Just think, don't make me think. If you look at the website through that lens, you'll often find there's certain elements that are just a bit more complicated than they need to be. Another, I suppose I'm going to give you a quick little SEO tip here. I would recommend that this links to both Google Maps listings right here. It's not necessarily going to affect the conversion rates, but it's always good in terms of the maps. This section here is good. Now, what our patients say about us, however, and this is a big one, I'm going to actually pull over an example website that I've worked with from a client just to show you. Now, this can always be improved. As I said, this is a medical spa. They're actually in Melbourne, Australia. But you'll see what I mean here. One thing that they could be doing better, because they're actually refurbishing the clinic, is I would like this to not be a stock image. But you'll see what I mean. Very, very simple. Social proof right away. Now, they haven't gone ahead and been featured on CNN yet, but you'll see what we're doing there. Extremely simple. It's very, very easy. And this is an SEO play, which we can talk about. But one thing that you could do right away, assuming you have a developer on hand, or else I can help you out with this, is actually pulling in the reviews themselves dynamically onto the website.
Yeah.
And you probably thought this yourself, but ultimately anyone could fake this, this little section here. Whereas this is the digital equivalent of the referral from a friend. So I would make that change right away where possible. Because it's the same amount of work, but it just carries so much more weight in terms of really understanding just what experts you are at ASC.
When you see it linked to a Google review.
Exactly, yeah, because it's pulled in dynamically, so people know you're not hiding behind anything, especially when you combine this with the strategy to get more reviews. And I do understand, I know one of the clinics has over 300 beaming reviews, so it's a shame to sort of sleep on those and not make the most of them. But that's another area for improvement there. And this section right here, the web form at the bottom, there are certain things that improve, but I'll get to that later on in the webinar. But does everything I've said so far make sense? Because I know I'm kind of
amazing. Yeah, you're bringing up some very obvious tips that that kind of I didn't even think about, but I'm glad to hear some of our website looks good too.
No, it does. As I said, the social proof is great. The video is really high quality. The navigation is good, but there's always room for improvement. As I said, one thing I'd suggest just with any marketing strategy, we want to benchmark. So I would suggest getting that heat map stuff.
Is that you or is that?
Let me see.
Oh, you saw Ashley on camera earlier, but she's one of my models here too.
Okay.
I don't want to do with the shirt off here. I don't want to, I do want to remove the guy with the shirt off in the video. I think we catered 99% to women.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ashley's got a beautiful photo shoot, video shoot. Max probably did it for us. We have that. We'll probably have that access. Yeah, I want to put Ash on the site. Okay.
Because that's actually one thing I'm going to bring up, and you touched on it there, Mark, is remembering the customer avatar is so essential. At the end of the day, you know, and I'll bring this up. We want people to be able to imagine themselves obviously as the finished product, and having those amazing photo shoots and video shoots, it's incredibly powerful. But to sort of dilute that by demonstrating people that maybe aren't our ideal customer, again, it's just these sort of incremental changes that we get right in the first place will make the world of a difference. Because if you were to imagine you arrive on this website, it looks great, but you're seeing, for example, you know, the shirtless men's, and you're perhaps, you know, a female, and you know, you don't fit that criteria and you don't see a call to action, there's a decent chance it's going to bounce and get onto a competitor. So as I said, measure twice, cut once, much like the actual
yeah, no, I like our video. You did a beautiful video shoot and photo shoot, but I do think we need to take that male model. Yeah, it doesn't fit us.
Yeah, just adjust it. Yeah. I'm going to go into a few more pages based on what I've seen on this specific website, and I'll go back to the actual presentation. But a few other things here. So, for example, the cosmetic surgery page itself. Again, the data will always indicate as to what people are actually spending time on, but this is it's a missed opportunity. I mean, this looks fairly decent, but the whole our procedures page, I think there's not enough contrast on this copy. If you look at it, that light green, it's fairly hard, you know, to basically visualize, you know, what that actually means. So I would like to see some sort of image equivalent, sort of similar to what was done, you know, down here.
Makes sense.
And yeah, another thing, again, I'm saying these in real time because I want to make sure this is valuable as possible. A major misconception that people have is these sliders. People assume that they convert well. They don't, basically, because if you remember, if you're looking at this with a specific intent, and as you said, Mark, with your own strategy, it's, you know, to educate the user and let them find out themselves. We want it to be intuitive, and there's a high likelihood they're just not going to see what they're looking for here. So, for example, if they're looking for a facelift and they scroll down at the wrong time, and they just see things about body contouring, they're going to leave unsatisfied. And again, data would show this. It's shocking how little time people actually spend on the website. People, you know, what will basically happen is they'll arrive on this page, they'll scroll down, they might gloss over that, not see it, and they might see, okay, breast augmentation, I'm looking for Botox, and that could be the opportunity lost. So I would actually get rid of this slider effect and just make sure that the structure of the website is very, very intuitive. Does that make sense? Do you have any comments or questions?
How do you, when you get rid of the sliders, what do you replace it with, if anything, so that they can navigate the procedure of choice? Because like what we did here was we kind of put my most common up top.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And again, that does make sense. What I would actually like to see is making this more prominent by having it fixed. So again, an example here is what we did was, and again, there's different ways of going about it, but people sort of know immediately. These are the best sellers, and they're also the ones we want to push in the maps. But they kind of get the idea. We're updating some things, but they know right away, and they'll be able to find it. Whereas, as I said, if we're leaving it to chance, if you think about this, if there's 4 or 5 different slides, that means there's a 20% chance of them actually seeing what they want to when they scroll down.
So you had
Uh,
more data on that one where you actually see a picture of the person, a little descriptor. On the
exactly.
other
Yeah,
website.
exactly. Yeah. So if we look at this, what I would actually probably suggest is, say, going to breast enhancement, for example. Um, what we would do is we would then, as you said here, have the different subsections accordingly. So basically, these are the broad criteria, the broad subjects or broad categories. Make that crystal clear, and then let people naturally find what they're looking for based on that. Because as of right now, it's sort of down to chance. I hope that makes sense. So it's basically, we've cosmetic surgery, then you go into that, and then you're going to pick facial rejuvenation, facial contouring, body contouring, or breast enhancement. We make those 4 categories crystal clear. No changes, no animations, no slides. And then we just make it as simple as possible. Don't let them think, as little noise as possible. Simple works.
And
I
then
hope
once you
that.
hit, instead of having sliders, you would actually have like the other website where like it's a picture and a descriptor.
Yeah, exactly. And again, this is, I often see this with people's hero section where they'll have these sliders and they assume they convert, but they don't. People,
Mhm.
again, this is all subconscious sort of decisions that are made in a fraction of a second.
Mhm.
They get skittish. They see the slides and they think this is too complicated. And it's not a conscious decision, but people bounce off pages very fast, and we just want to subconsciously calm them down and still trust and make it simple for them.
Mhm.
But again, these are great questions, and I appreciate you asking them, so keep them coming. But like I said, I mean, the structure of the website's good. It's just those little tweaks do make the world of a difference. But I'll get back to this, and we can circle back on a lot of these specific points after. So I'm just going to go back here.
Yeah, those are some really good observations. That all makes sense to me.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. Again, any questions, I'm here to help. So again, as we mentioned, building this to convert, it's just, you can throw as much money as you want at traffic, but if these changes aren't made, it's just silly. You're literally throwing money on the table. I'm sorry. And I do have a checklist here that I'm gonna I'll send you an email right after for you to check in your own time. And what we're going to do here is, you can turn this into a bit of a brainstorming session, Ashley and Mark, but these are sort of questions I want you to start asking yourself, and we can discuss it further. I know we have a call booked for 3 p.m. On Monday. But as we mentioned, the target avatar, what are their fears, what are their frustrations, and why should they choose us? We can discuss this as a dialogue over the next few minutes. Authentic images of the team on the homepage and throughout the website. With the specific example we gave, you guys are doing a great job. The trust really, it shines through. I said I would recommend the actual reviews that people are leaving on Google, but apart from that, you're doing great here. The video shoot adds a really nice layer of realness to it, and that's something that's been done really well. Video, full marks there. Make the adjustments based on the audience persona, but it's great. Where possible, food for thought here, perhaps a video of some of the procedures. I know how big you are, Mark, on education for the patient. Even just a little quick experiment, because I know you can explain things extremely well because you did it on our podcast. I learned more in that last 10 minutes than I had in a long time. But it'll just make everything so much easier for you, when they're actually in the clinic. Again, it really is a case of measuring twice, cutting once, and it'll just make the whole that concierge experience so much more smooth. As I said, social proof, we talked about that. Bonus points, we can talk about this over a separate call. If you have offline strategies for getting more reviews, that's great. It's important to prioritize it. As I said, I know with your specific website, there's I think there was 17 reviews on one location. I think it was 310 on the other. That's good, but there's ways of us consistently growing that at a faster rate. phone number, right-hand corner, that's something that you're adding. And then there's a web form at the bottom, but I actually want to talk about that because I suspect there's something being missed there as well. And as a credibility, top marks there, I can't fault that. We'll go into more specific detail here, but does everything here make sense? Are there any kind of questions about what I've talked about so far?
Why is the phone number go in the right-hand corner? I'm just curious.
Just best practices. Basically what happens is when people arrive on a website, they kind of view it, they generally sort of scroll in like a Z format. They go top left corner. So, I mean, if I was to be nitpicky, I would probably move the logo a bit to the left, and they'll subconsciously go left across the right,
Okay.
click the phone number, and they'll go bottom left corner, which is why it's important to have a call to action there. And then they go
Okay.
bottom right corner. So swap those things around. That'd be great. And because you will find it's basically the same format as when you're reading a book. You start top left corner, you finish the sentence, then you skip a line. It's what we're conditioned to do. But yeah, again, great question. It's just best practices, because you also need to remember people are being conditioned across hundreds of different websites. So we're not trying to retrain them here. So we want to minimize the cognitive load here as much as possible. Call to action, we've talked about that. I would recommend increasing the contrast for each of these, make it as simple as possible. I don't have time to go into the mobile side of things right now, but I'm happy to prep something and send it over before a call on Monday. Special offers and coupons, not concerned about that here. And leverage AI and live chat where possible. I'll talk about that because I know it's something that you would like to learn more about. And site speed, that's one thing you're doing well. I've actually already ran a speed test. You guys are doing good there. And one thing I'd also mention is engaging via SMS and phone, via marketing automations and AI. And I'll talk about what that actually is in a second, because I know that's an intimidating phrase. But I suppose out of everything we talked about before, I'd like to kind of put the mic back on you, the spotlight back on you. Out of what we've talked about so far, what element jumps out at you as what's going to have the biggest impact on the results of your overall marketing efforts based on your website? Is it the social proof? What about what we've talked about so far to you seems like the biggest needle mover?
I don't know if I can tell you there's one. I mean, I think you brought up a lot of good constructive criticism of our site. So everything you said to me actually makes total sense. So I'm liking what I'm doing. I like having actual reviews. I think, like I said yesterday, the things that people should be looking at are reviews and pictures. So I think making the reviews more credible is actually a really big thing.
Exactly. And it's simple to implement, but it's that whole adage of there's a lot of surgery equivalents, but it's the case of hiring the plumber who comes in, spends 5 seconds looking at an issue, taps the pipe once and fixes it. But it's the years and years of actually identifying what those issues are is kind of what sets it apart. So it seems simple when we say it out loud, but what simple isn't obvious. But as a whole, with this, it's a case really of there not being one silver bullet. It's a case of millions of silver BBs, little tiny ones that accumulate over time. Because as I mentioned at the start, I don't think you were there at the time, Mark, but I was saying to Ashley, there's 4 levers that we can use to grow any business. That's traffic, conversion, churn or recurring business, and price, right? My job is to help with the first 3. You take care of the last. And traffic, while it's important, can add up as being expensive. Getting that conversion on the website fast at the start is what's going to act as a force multiplier for everything else. You can either triple your ad spend or triple the amount of traffic, or you can make tweaks at the start and triple the amount of people that arrive on the website and turn into customers. So That's why we want to get these foundations right. It just saves you so much time, effort, and money in the long run. So I hope that makes sense, because a lot of people, I think we've talked about this, you know, when all they have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. But you don't want to be that person, you know, trying to drive traffic and not converting. So, you know, as I said, here's an example. We've already gone through this, but I also want to circle back to the point that you made about the avatar. You know, if you can see Joe Johns through Joe Johns' eyes, then you can sell what Joe Jones buys. The point being is, you know, our avatar, they've got certain pains, they've got certain frustrations, desires, and you know, this could potentially be the type of people that we actually want on the website. You know, 30 to 55 years old, predominantly female, occasionally male, and you know, a bit of disposable income, as you said. You know, with this, you know, it's happy medicine. They're coming here because they want to, and the website needs to reflect that. And as a result, we need to assume that they're not tech savvy. So ultimately, the whole content, the whole structure here needs to be incredibly intuitive, appeal to that demographic, you know, female, 30 to 55, occasionally male, and not stray away from that. We need to be consistent with all of that. So, you know, with that being said, sometimes they might be impatient and they want an answer now, which is why I also want to talk about the whole idea of the web form. And I'm going to send this recording over. You can check it out. If you need the deck itself, I can send to you in PDF format. But, you know, in the same way, it's obviously essential to spend that time getting to know them in person. We need to make sure the website reflects that as well. So, you know, I've given this as an example. One thing that you're doing, as I said, great in your website is getting the practitioners, getting the team on the website. It instills trust. And as I said, that we want it to be the case where when they actually visit the clinic, they're thinking, oh my God, I get to talk to Dr. Yoon or one of the many other team members that are present. Get them excited before they even get started.
I like that. We don't have pictures of our group on there.
That's why I took over.
God knows. I mean, we got a good looking crew here. We got to put them on the homepage.
It'd be a shame not to. It'd be a shame not to.
Call it the hero page. You call it the hero site.
So the hero section is the bit, it's called above the fold. Above the fold, think of it like a newspaper. When a newspaper is folded up, anything that you see before you unfold it is above the fold. So the website equivalent is the bit that you see before you scroll down at all.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So think of it like a newspaper. Above the fold, it's like when you fold up a newspaper. But
You're saying that because I'm 59 and
I'm saying it because that's where it came from. I didn't invent the term.
Remember in the days when we had newspapers?
Yeah. But like I said, you know, to be honest, we need to redo our own website. But you can see what I mean here. Get the videos there. You're doing a great job with that. Showcase real social proof. It's an easy fix, and just get the fundamentals right. Now, one thing, and I want to kind of just drip this bit of information to you, is the importance of speed to lead, as it's called, right? And this is an area that I see a lot of people mess up, frankly, because they're not aware that the technology is available. And that is basically these web forms, these what appear to be inconspicuous web forms. They are the death of a lot of potential appointments. And the reason being, and maybe yourself or Ashley can attest to this, is somebody fills out a form, they submit it, and it gets replied to a day or two later because it ended up in a receptionist's inbox. Would that seem accurate, or is that something that you think
probably right?
does happen?
Yeah.
So the way we do that is basically we can leverage technology so that when this is submitted, you get a notification via the phone, and all of this is HIPAA compliant, by the way. Using specific tools where you get notifications saying, hey, new lead from the web form, please call them back. So, you can imagine the difference in experience. So somebody arrives on this website, it's crystal clear for them, it's made for them. They see the real people, they think, okay, this sounds intriguing, I'd like to find out more. They submit a form, and within 2 minutes they get a call back from the receptionist.
Yeah, that's huge.
You know, if you can compare the experience there, and we can leverage this with technology. It wasn't available before, but it is now. We can start, you know, two-way SMS conversations with them. We can automate follow-ups, such that it's buying back time for the receptionist. You know, a combination of this and sort of a chat widget that allows us to send texts. It's a massive force multiplier, because, you know, especially with that demographic, a lot of, you know, women 30 to 55, or, you know, there'll be fluctuations, obviously, sometimes younger, sometimes older. They're just sending a text and they're going about their day. But if they submit a form, they get a text right away, and via SMS, you know, we can get those appointments booked like that, because they're going to be price shopping, they're going to be shopping around in general. And if you can blow them away with that first experience, we talked about, you know, the sort of concierge premium experience. It's a game changer. They're walking into it with the right intentions, and the first impression that we really want. So, you know, I think there's a statistic. I think it's 90% of web forms don't convert when they're left more than 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
So, and that's fast, as you know,
yeah,
on a coffee break, whatever, come back. Even if you're prompt and it's 30 to 60 minutes, they might have already gone for a competitor. So that's what I mean by marketing automation. We get these in place, get notification, we incorporate, you know, calls, text, email, and they're blown away. And the nice thing about this is, depending on the CRM that's being used, we can have multiple follow-ups. And I won't even get into the whole AI side of things, because that can take care of it altogether. But the point being is, down the road, you can literally have these appointments booked automatically, which is incredibly powerful and buys back a lot of time, especially when you're a team of over 40. So as with this case, you know, I'm not going to talk about offers. You know, it's important. But depending on how you position your clinic, you know, in the case as concierge and so on, we don't necessarily think you want to diminish the value of the service you're providing. Mark, for yourself, a metaphor that I gave to Ashley was, broadly speaking, we talked about this in our podcast. There are two main forms of you know, traffic that we want to bring, and that's basically search based and sort of, you know, interrupting or meta ads. The difference being, when somebody searches you and you show up at the top of Google, the trust is already there. And basically the two pillars for that are Google Ads and SEO, right? Just to explain the difference, Google Ads allows you to get traffic within weeks. SEO takes time, but it's the cheapest overall over a longer time period. So the comparison that I'd give is, Google Ads are like, and I'm specifically saying this for your clinic, they're kind of like the kindling or the tinder to start a fire, right? Whereas SEO is kind of like the big log that you're slowly letting burn, but once it gets going, it's sustainable. Another benefit, just to explain the pros and cons of Google Ads versus SEO, because ultimately they're different ways of driving traffic to a website, are that Google Ads allow us to get very, very granular, right? So we could, for example, specifically target, you know, so that they just show up during opening hours via specific suburbs or specific locations. If there's a specific treatment that we want to, you know, drive more business to, we can be agile, basically. So that's the pros. So SEO gives us an overall lift, and it basically creates this beautiful synergy between short-term and long-term, and overall increase in reputation and, you know, granular targeting via location, age, hours, and so on. But I just want to touch on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
with that being said, I'm just going to, I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff here, but I want to make sure it's as valuable for you as possible.
That's great.
I'm going to give an example of a page that we were working on. Again, we're going to make improvements here, but this is actually a surgery in New Jersey. And this is, while aesthetically it's a lot, this is an example of a landing page that you may be driving traffic to via Google, right? So another main issue, and this is something, again, you can take what you want from this. I'd say 80+% of clinics that I talk to that say, oh, we've done Google ads and it doesn't work. 8 to 9 out of 10 people, what they basically did was they got someone, a generic marketing agency, and the agency was driving traffic to the homepage, right? We don't want that. So if there's a specific treatment that we really want to push, what we do is we create a page where the only option for them realistically are to make that basically book that call. So depending on the metric, be it a form or a call, we want to give them no choice, just to book a call, book a call, book a call. Because while this looks like a website homepage, none of these links actually take people off it. So that's the difference here, because if we think of it, especially with Google Ads, and this is just really good education for you, every lost conversion is like a hole in a bucket that we're filling with water. So we've spent money, we've spent effort getting people on the page. We don't want them to leave. So we're basically trying to ensnare them, but with good intentions. So, and another thing I'll say as well is just something to remember is, in the event that you're running ads, again, it's a lot of information here, we can talk about it further over a call, is the offers don't necessarily need to deprecate the value that's being provided. We can see here in this case, it's obviously a urogynecology clinic. The value proposition is that they get same-day appointments. So the value doesn't need to be you get 10% off, 20% off. It's just a unique selling point as to why they would go for you versus competitors. So it could be the case that there's examples of value propositions that ASC can leverage. But again, that's just something to remember. This number, I think, has actually increased. You know, mobile friendliness, we can go through it again, but 40% of mobile visitors or of mobile customers, you know, turn to competitor's website after a bad mobile web experience. Like that's massive. And you know, with at least 3 out of 5, usually it's around 70% of people, you know, viewing websites from mobile. You just can't gloss over it. So many people focus on desktop and they forget usually what happens is, you know, pick up a phone, you do a bit of a Google, you impulsively check something out, and if you don't like it, you might talk to other competitors. But as I said, if you see the fact that, you know, how these all marry together, if it looks good on mobile, it loads fast, you book that inquiry and you get a call within 2 minutes and a text, it's going to amplify the effectiveness of everything that's used to drive more traffic. And I just want to check, how are you guys for time? Because I don't want to, you know, push anything over.
Man, I tell you, you just giving me a lot of great information here. What time is it? No, we got a little bit more time.
Okay, cool, perfect. You know, I've mentioned live chat. This is one thing I said, you know, usually, and I'm happy to look at the traffic data for your specific website here, is on average, usually only 5 to 10% of people will take any action. And which obviously means over 90% will leave without calling. So, you know, when they're on the website, we know that they're in the market for the service and they're in your service area because they found it for a reason. We want to engage that dialogue as fast as possible. As I said, we talked about this in our podcast, but this is the digital equivalent of shaking the hands. You know, it's not them scrolling on Instagram, scrolling on Facebook and getting, you know, flashed with a digital banner. or digital billboard in the form of an ad. This is, they look you up, they see the beaming reviews, and they get to talk to you right away. It's completely aligned with the ethos of you know, of what you're doing. You know,
we don't have any live chat.
But you could use AI for fun.
Yeah, to keep them there.
Just to get
Yeah.
them engaged.
yeah. Yeah, and that's, you know, the whole AI conversation is something that we can talk about again, but you can actually leverage AI to even, you basically, we can basically feed in a lot of information about the clinic and so on, and they can have a conversation, you know, over SMS where they're getting prompt responses. It's all, again, all of this can be HIPAA compliant and literally get the appointments booked automatically. You know, another thing, and I'm actually I'm running this with I think 3 new clinics this week. It's important to remember all of this technology. It's not just for new visitors. We talked about this, you know, traffic, conversion, price, and then churn. You know, instead of spending half a day calling up old clients, which is obviously powerful, we can use the same technology to reactivate old clients or patients, you know, obviously ethically, but you know, the best customers are people that you've already done business with. And as I said, with your specific business, you know, 310 plus reviews on one location and, you know, 17 the other and counting, that's a lot of untapped potential. So I don't want to throw too much information, but I would also say, in addition to the live chat for people arriving on the website, we can also reuse this, you know, the same technology to automatically restart conversations with previous patients, bring them in the door, and also even just ask for reviews. You know, there's a lot of, I would imagine there's a lot more with this specific website. There's a lot more than over 300 people that have walked in the door, as I say, recently. So we can automate so many of these processes by just really dialing in the fundamentals and getting those foundations right. Does that all make sense? Do you have any questions about any of that?
No, man, this is amazing. I feel like we've been living under a rock.
It's so easy to do. God knows you're all wearing enough hats. There's only so much information you can absorb. Which
like I said, doctors don't know anything about business, so that's why we don't have experts like you. But you have tremendous knowledge of this. I love all the subconscious psychology that you're aware of. It's really cool.
I appreciate it. Well, I don't know anything about rhinoplasty, so we each have our strengths.
Stay in our lanes.
Yeah, exactly. I said I can tell you about stents and basic medical devices, but I don't know anything about the DART procedure apart from what I learned yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen, what I want to do is just round things up, some key ideas. You know, I'll send over this little PDF with some things that can maybe prompt conversation. We'll discuss it further on our call next Monday. But you know, the high level overviews, make sure you're adding authentic images of your team. As I said, there's a great team there. We want that trust built beforehand. Website welcome video with your specific example, you know, exceptionally well shot, I have to admit. Make sure it's adjusted for the target demographic or avatar. I would recommend videos for each service where possible. There's obviously a lot. There's 1,000,001 based on our conversation on the podcast, but bit by bit, it makes a big difference. As I said, you know, another thing I'd say is before making any changes, as with anything, you know, the equivalent nearly of the, you know, the computer imaging that you use for your cosmetic procedures, we want to benchmark it. So I would suggest having some sort of software that allows to see how people are actually behaving. It's incredibly powerful. 99% of marketers I talk to, they can show all the analytics for the traffic, but they haven't a clue. And most business owners don't even know you can do this. They don't actually know what people are doing when they're on the website. So it's very important. The insights there are incredible. Make sure to you know, showcase the online reviews. Again, the strategies for getting more of those. Get the basics. You know, I would suggest probably moving around the phone number. Make sure the web form, which we have potentially has some automations to get that response time faster. Authority symbols, you're doing great. I mean, I don't need to give any recommendations there. But also, you know, make sure the calls to action speak to the customer avatar, and I'll actually touch on that in a second. And make sure they have the option to book online. And yeah, as I said, you know, as this is a webinar that will be replayed, you know, I'm just going to go through some other stuff. But the question is really, do you think there's improvements for, you know, opportunities for improving your conversion rate? And
1,000.
yeah, as I said, you know, if you implement even 5 of these over the next 3 to 5 of these over the next 30 days, it's just that incremental thing of just getting the work done once, and it amplifies the effectiveness of everything else. So you can see how this really adds up. But I will ask you in real time, and I know I've talked on a lot, you know, what do you seem like the most pressing? Just because I want this to be actionable for you, you know, which of these do you think are the most pressing that you could implement or get started running quite soon as a function of today's webinar?
That's a good one. Ashley just said that Google putting the real reviews on the site. I love the live chat and immediate response time. And then,
Getting rid of the sliders, making it
yeah.
easier.
And then adding video content. I'm always a big fan of video. That's what draws me to certain social media sites and things, is seeing video. So even more than still photography.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. They're all great ones. I said the review, it's easy to do, but if you just don't know where to look, you're just not going to think of it. So listen, we've called, you know, sure, so I'll go back to this one more time. But you know, the biggest issues, I said, they're unconverted leads. We've talked about this. 90% of web forms fail. You know, usually you need to touch on these people 5 to 7 times before booking. And as I said, you need to have the option to send texts as well as call, not just email. And you know, basically what we can do is with the AI chatbots and all that sort of stuff is leverage it so they get a reply within 2 minutes. We can automate the follow-up as well. So they're being kept warm, and when they get on the phone, they're excited. They know you haven't forgotten about them. Leveraging two-way text messaging. And yeah, like I said, I mean, if you just do the simple maths, if you can bump the conversion rate between an automated follow-up and say the average ticket value $650, your return on investment just it skyrockets very, very fast. So yeah, listen, that I'm going to sort of finish up the new information here because we've talked about this a lot. We're going to be going through this over a call next week anyways. But like I said, there's a lot that can be done. We've already got a call scheduled in. I need to put that into the calendar. And yeah, this basically, like I said, it's one part of sort of a holistic digital marketing strategy, depending on the purpose of the goal. The purpose of the webinar today was to make sure that conversion element is dialed in, or at least you know you have the tools to run with it. And what I do recommend usually is incrementally improving these components one by one, get the conversion of the website improved, and then look at traffic. And then you can always look at, you know, increasing the lifetime value through email marketing, SMS marketing, and so on. And yeah, that's my TED talk, basically.
Man, I tell you, I'm just sitting here trying to digest all this, but you're brilliant at this. And I'm just hoping I can afford you. I'm really thinking right now. I need to be able to afford you to help take us and hold us by the hand and get us right. This is great stuff. This is great information. I love it.
I appreciate it. I said I'll send Anthony over. There's a lot of information being gone through there. Sit on it, digest it, and we've a call next week. We can go through everything and make sure everything is aligned with what you're looking for.
You know how to do your job. I mean, you don't, so many people, your colleagues, if you want to call me your colleague, your competition, so pushy and salesy that it's kind of a turnoff, but I just love how you educate us about it. So like I say, you remind me of a younger version of me.
I said, I don't have quite the medical knowledge that you do, but I'm doing my best.
You're doing great, dude. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Appreciate your appreciation.
All right.
But listen, this has been great. Ashley, do you have any questions? Just I want to make sure that you don't have
No, I
any
do
questions or
not.
answers.
That went very well.
All right, listen, I appreciate it. I said I'm only an email away. You're going to get a calendar invite for our call 3 p.m. on Monday, and I'm looking forward to it already. And I hope you all have a brilliant week.
Very good. Take care. Have a good one.
All right, see you guys. All the
Okay.
best. Bye
Take
bye.
care. Yeah.